are we paying attention to what Aaron Judge is doing?
Yeah.
Not enough.
Not enough?
Not enough, but
Not
yeah,
enough?
I've seen his numbers. They're pretty stupid.
Ridiculous.
I'd say pretty stupid. On the year, he is first in Major League Baseball in batting average. He's hitting over 400 over a month into the season.
Unlike the rest of his team.
He is tied for first in home runs with 12. He is tied for first in RBIs with 34, and he is first in OPS by a wide margin. Just to give you a perspective of how much he's carrying their offense, the Yankees have the highest batting average, on-base percentage, and slugging percentage in all of Major League Baseball this year.
Mm-hmm.
If you took Aaron Judge off of their team and then just compared their numbers to the rest of baseball, they would be 14th in average, 11th in on-base percentage. They'd still be third in slugging because they hit at a softball field. Sorry, Ryan Cooley. And it's just remarkable what he's doing. He legitimately, look, I think every caveat you throw at a baseball conversation this time of year, and we all do it, is, but it's May. I got a long way to go. But I'm just wondering, like, how long into the year, this is almost one of those, like, when you're watching a guy and there's a no-hitter going, like, at what point until you're like, dude, you're giving up it. Like, 3 innings in, you're not going to say anything. It's whatever. Happens all the time. 5 innings in, 6, like, at what point do you say, oh, something's happening here? That's my question about a guy. We've seen somebody win the Triple Crown. Miguel Cabrera did it a couple of years ago, and he's got a legitimate shot to do it again.
What year was that? Because we say a couple of years ago. I feel like it was longer than a couple of years ago.
18?
18-ish.
Was it 18? I was thinking like 16.
He beat Mike Trout. Oh, God.
It's like 14, right? 13?
It's 2012.
Wow.
Yeah, because you know what's funny
That's
about
all
that?
a blur. That seems like it was 5 years ago.
I know, and I don't blame you for saying it the way you did, but what was funny when he said 18, I'm like, I remember vividly, I was on the 50-yard line at Reser Stadium waiting for, I think, spring practice to end, and it was me, it was Mike Doc Parker, it was Steven Nelson, and we were all debating how cool this was going to be if
he did the Triple Crown, because it had been forever since we had seen it.
Yes.
How long into the season for Aaron Judge until we start perking our ears up and saying, does he have a legitimate chance to hit 400?
If he's still going at this pace, so the Yankees visit the Dodgers the last weekend in May. And all those games, one's on Apple TV,
they'll be
one's
on
on Fox. Then they got the ESPN Sunday night game.
World Series rematch.
If he's
Yankees,
still
Dodgers,
over 400 and he's leading the American League or all of baseball and
that's
home
when it
runs,
becomes a story.
Then you're going to get bombarded with it.
I gotta go much later.
Much later into the year.
Yeah. He could have a bad series against the Dodgers and then get back into 400 in the next series.
Very well could. It could go up and down.
It is pretty crazy what his numbers have been.
I mean, he's absolutely mashing the baseball.
He had 114 ribbies his second year in the league, right? And then he trailed off a little bit, okay? And then he got to 98 in 2021, 131 in 2022.
Since 2022, you can make an argument, his last 3 years, he has been the best right-handed hitter in the history of baseball.
He's certainly in the, yes.
Like he's in the last 3 years, what he's done, you can put that with all-time greats, all-time historic. He is one of the best hitters in the history.
311, 267, 322, and currently 400.
Yes, he's not just hitting for power.
He's a Hall of
hitting
Fame player
average.
already.
He's using both sides of the field. He is an unstoppable force.
He's a 2-time MVP, a 6-time All-Star, 4-time Silver Slugger, Rookie of the Year. Like, the dude is a Hall of Famer.
He's got to get a little bit more protection or he will start getting the Barry Bonds treatment and they will just
start pitching around him.
Walking him.
Should be illegal.
I do find it interesting that
I hate that.
It's like the hack-a-shack.
I hate it. I mean, it's no different than what that ref did in the Celtic game yesterday. When a guy gets bodied on a dunk the way Derek White did with OG, give him the block.
Yeah.
Give me that hip thrust. Make them review it and change it. That's automatically a block. That's too good of a play to call the other way.
It's interesting, though, because to me, I will ask the question, because we do this a lot with stars. Like, we'll do it with Tatum and Brown. We did it forever. Like, stars in the NBA, quarterbacks in the NFL, you're held to a certain standard. And I wonder how much, and maybe I'm not in every single bubble, so it's hard to know exactly what people are paying attention to this time of year.
Especially in baseball.
Especially in baseball, right? I'm wondering how much of this maybe not being a bigger story has to do with how bad he was in the playoffs last year. And when you're the face of the New York Yankees, you're held to a standard of what? Like
No, it's on the playoffs.
Championship is like it's Mr. October and Mr. November, and that's what matters. And in the playoffs last year, he was 9 for 49 with only 3 home runs and 20 strikeouts.
Yeah,
and he could not hit water if he fell out of a boat.
Am I wrong in saying Stanton might have been better in the postseason?
Oh, without a doubt, Stanton was better
monster
in the postseason.
The only thing helping the big
outfield,
and I'm wondering how much. And then he had the gaff in right field. Like that's where.
That's what he's got to overcome, and maybe that was his last.
Guys have done it and then come through. A-Rod did this famously. He was a terrible playoff player forever, and then he was big in the World Series that they won.
Paul Goldschmidt has been the one guy that's protecting him the most.
Yeah, Stanton's out of the lineup still, right? He's still banged up. He's not even in.
You might be right. Is the conversation not being generated enough with these numbers because of that? I would maybe argue because of other stuff. ESPN bailed on baseball.
They did.
Now, they still have it, but they don't cover that sport close to what they cover.
No. They used to have their Baseball Tonight show as a nightly show.
So, like, on a day-to-day basis, I'm getting my highlights if I watch SportsCenter, but also it's not a priority for them. You know what is? The NBA playoffs right now. The NFL draft just happened, and trades are going on. Hockey is in their playoffs, so you get some wildness from the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Well, they're airing those games,
They're airing those games.
And WWE?
WWE is taking absolutely.
I mean, they're covering
WWE
more than baseball.
The morning show before us, I swear to God, they were on a week straight where I'm getting 20 minutes of WWE conversation, and I'm like, it's all scripted.
Hell in a Cell.
I don't know what you're talking about here, but that's fine. Cover WWE if you want. And then I'd even throw, college football will once in a while pop up. I don't know if it is just the playoffs, though. I think it's because the other stuff is more important.
Just overshadowing it right now.
The biggest sports network currently going on.
Interesting.
I also think that sports funny in how we create narratives. Bonds and Rodriguez struggling in the postseason in their careers was certainly a narrative, but they were also so damn good that it didn't feel like quite the level of narrative the way we do it in the NBA or with quarterbacks.
It was never the same.
So I don't know if it's a combination of coverage sucks versus playoff narrative, because my history says baseball doesn't operate that way. It is like, oh, he wasn't great last year. Yeah, but he's mashing 400. He's tied for the league in homers. He's on track to have 100-plus RBIs again.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's more the media landscape than it is playoff demons.
Let me ask you this, because we've seen some cool stuff happen in sports over the last handful of years. LeBron breaking a record in the NBA that many viewed for a long time as untouchable. Ovechkin, Canadian legend.
Same thing.
Alexander Ovechkin breaking. Just an all-time Canadian, breaking the Gretzky scoring record. Another great Canadian. Great Canadians everywhere. That was a record for a long time that we looked at and said, nobody will ever touch that. And then he kept doing it, and he kept playing, and he kept playing, and here he is. He breaks a record. Where on our pantheon of, oh, my God, would a player hitting 400 be for you? It has not happened in Major League Baseball since Ted Williams in 1941.
Gwynn never did it, huh?
No, I remember
And the last time a guy in the National League did it, you're talking New York Giants in the 1930s.
That's
how long it's
been.
Is it
Gwynn?
Gwynn came
Gwynn
close.
and George Brett. There was a summer when both of them in the 80s were flirting with
like
it.
380s, 370s.
They were above 400 into late July, early August, I think. And they were still, 390s going into late August, September.
Well, I think what's interesting here, Dirt, is not to change this again. I'm fascinated by that. Batting 400 would be insane.
Like that's just
I've never seen it in my life.
Well, then the story
I
about
I didn't. Tony Gwynn was amazing.
He came really close. He hit in 1994. He hit 394.
Yeah.
In 1980, George Brett had a year where he hit 390.
Yeah.
Rod Carew had a year in 77 where he hit 388. Like there's been guys who have flirted with it. But the funny thing is the Ted Williams story, famously, if I remember correctly from his old documentary stuff, was they had a doubleheader on the last day of the season, and he was right at 400.
Yeah, he could have sat.
And
won it.
Just said, I hit 400 on the year because he could go 0 for 8.
But he's a goat.
Both, and didn't he
go
he
went 7 for 8 and ended up hitting 406
on
the year. He's like, dude, I'm not sitting down. Screw this. And he did it. And he went
after being a war hero.
Yeah, damn right. Just an absolute badass.
Teddy Ballgame.
Teddy Ballgame was a badass, dude. He's a badass.
I mean, I think the thing I'm not trying to change the topic. I think it's big for sports fans. I think people who don't even really follow baseball that closely anymore, we're sports fans, right? And some of us are just really football fans, but we won't say it out loud to ourselves. But like, yeah, you get into September and you're telling me this dude is at 400, hovering close.
Or 390 or 392. Like, you just got to be in the ballpark of it to keep you around. Because any game you go 3 for 4, it's going to jump up a little bit.
Well, how do you think people were responding to the home run season a couple years ago? Yeah. We laughed at the record notion of like, well, it's the American League record.
Yeah.
Right? The way they were framing it. But you still would tune in to see him mash a home run.
You would?
So I think people would follow it. What I worry about with baseball is if you're not really a diehard fan of a team, I just worry what their next media right deal is going to be.
And how closely you're following it, yeah.
There's been no real intel on that. And if it's not on my day-to-day ESPN,
it has to be.
Where is it at?
Yeah.
And will I consume it? Will I seek it out? Because outside of my extra innings package for the Braves, I try to keep up here and there, but I don't know everything that's going on at all times in that league.
It can be complicated. 1994 is such a wild season in baseball. First time without a World Series in, forever. I believe Griffey was on track to break the home run record in 94.
He was on track to
break
it.
The Expos could have won the World Series in 94.
Baseball,
would they still be in Montreal? What would their future have looked like? And that was the year that Tony Gwynn came close. In the strike-shortened season, they played 110 games or whatever it was before the year ended. He was hitting 394 in 1994. All the things that we potentially could have lost. Nobody knows how it would have ended, but still, it's wild that he was 394 that late in the season.
Well, I think, I got to be honest, what's wild to me, and Swag is a diehard baseball nerd, it's wild that Swag is like, this gets my attention in a Dodger series in May.
Yeah.
Don't you wait longer before this is like 400's a real thing? There's so much time between May and the end of the season.
Well,
it takes a 2-week slump and you're done.
Well, he's 420 something now, or
he's at 400 on the dot right now.
Oh, okay.
He's at 400 on the dot. Yeah.
We'll see if he dips below, if he's still there, because at one point he was like batting like 433.
5 days ago he was at 434. So he's already. I mean, this early in the year you can swing.
But once you get to the end of May,
once
you get to the end of May, you've played a third of the season.
I know, but 400 to stay at 400.
I know that, but. You've played enough now
where there's a big enough sample size.
Yeah.
What's his BABIP though?
I mean, you got to look at the BABIP. There's actually, there's a lot of nerds who are putting, his runs into like all time, his WRC plus, whatever,
I tell you this, basketball did this to themselves too, and I still think that they from time to time do. There's just too many analytics.
Yes.
People don't know what all of these
you.
things mean, and like you explain it, and it's still like,
yeah.
Okay, the exit velocity with balls through second base is the percentage, and that means...
And anytime I look at that, the question I ask is, okay, what does it measure on when I'm watching a game? What is it a measure of?
You know what I care about? Batting average, homers, ribbies, and hits. There we go.
Stolen bases.
I
know how to quantify all of those.
Make stats great again.
Now what his batting average is on balls in play. What?
Like those stats are for the teams. Those stats should stay internal.
You figure that out in contract negotiations? I don't need those numbers.
Meringue will do that in hoops. He'll just like give me all of these numbers with analytics that I never look at. And I'm like, I just want to be like, is this good?
Yeah.
I'm assuming this is good.
He's shooting 32% from three, so does it really mean that much? I don't know. I'm kind of confused right now. Last thing on this, then we'll move on. It's been enjoyable baseball talk with you, bros.
I got to be honest. I'm in.
It's kind of not like it's just little curveball at you. I think what makes this, not to take away anything from guys in the past. Tony Gwynn's one of the all-time great hitters, if not the greatest of all time in terms of average. What makes it stand out, and a listener pointed this out at the fan text line, what he's doing in an era in which nobody's doing it is bananas.
Yes.
Like nobody.
Well, at that size, too.
At that size, too. Like
6'7".
I think as of the last time I checked, and we can double check this, the last time I looked, the league average, like the collective league average, this was like 2 or 3 days ago, was around 239 or 240. And he's hitting that's for all of Major League Baseball.
So the league batting average is 243.
243.
Woof.
So below 250. What was the league batting average in 1994?
I got it right here. Glad you asked. 1994.
Had to have been
What's your guess?
255.
I'd say 263.
Dirt wins 270.
270.
Wow.
Yeah.
God.
I mean, that used to be the way guys used to. Hey, I'm going to pepper
sport?
The ball between the third baseman and the shortstop and hit a base. Like that used to be baseball.
What's the year you think it took like a huge drop off to where we're at now? Can you pinpoint the year? I can't.
When did the fall off begin?
Like where you would say, so it's 270 and 94.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just assume it goes down naturally. What's the year you think it went,
whoa,
they're not hitting quite the same?
2013.
Okay.
Oh, I think it was before that.
So 270 in 1994. It dipped into the 260s. 2011, it went from 262 to 255.
Yeah.
And it's gone nothing but down.
Nothing but down since
except
then.
the 1 year of 2019, they batted 252.
Look at us in 2019, huh? Way to go, baseball. So I was curious how many people are paying attention to it. Aaron Judge is on a historic pace. It's been fun to watch. The Yankees are mashing.
What's the answer to that poll question? Are you following Aaron Judge, yes or no? It's got to be an overwhelming no, right?
Probably no.
Like
Probably
breaking
no.
news, Aaron Judge is good at baseball.
Yeah, I've seen that movie before because he's been good for the last handful of years. So, yeah, I think it'll be interesting just to keep in the back of your mind. To Swag's point, is it end of May? Is it later than that? At what point is this like, hey, this is becoming a national story of what he's doing, and maybe he falls off, and that's not even a story, and it's a forgotten topic. But just curious where people were at